Let me say good morning to the entire nation. Yes, Grenada, the mainland, the Sister Isles, Carrick, Petit Martinique. Good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Thursday, the 16th day of February. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me say good morning to our social media audience this morning. Those of you who have our Facebook page, good morning. If you're there and you are listening and viewing already, you could go ahead, share the live. Let's say good morning to those of you who are viewing via GBN TV. Good morning, welcome. Classic 105 listeners, good morning. Wherever you're at, welcome, welcome. Well, you know, on Thursdays we do entertain, of course, members of particular divisions within the Royal Grenada Police Force. And this morning we do have the Coast Guard with us this morning. And we go over and say good morning to our officers. We have, that's Constable Nichols, Constable 372 Nichols?
Good morning.
Good morning. We have Corporal 365 Joseph. Hope I got that right. Good morning to both of you and welcome.
Good morning.
All right.
To the wonderful people of Grenada and Carrick and Petit Martinique.
All right. I want to thank you folks for being with us this morning. Always interesting when they have the particular division of the Royal Grenada Police Force with us this morning. We tend to learn a lot about the do's and don'ts that we folks do, and the Coast Guard is no exception to the Royal Grenada Police Force. It's a very important department. Am I correct in saying that?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Right.
So.
At this moment, we want to spend some time on the topic line, beaches, vessels. So let's kick it off at beaches this morning in terms of when the Coast Guard have the issue of dealing with how does the Coast Guard fitting into the beaches? We understand Coast Guard to deal with the sea first and foremost, right? How does the beaches interplay into your department? What are some of the important issues that you folks would pay attention to when it comes to beaches? Who would like to take that?
Yes, the role of the Coast Guard on the beach. Well, today we're trying to inform persons as to preparation for going to the beach or at safety more or less while you're having fun on the beaches. Okay. Right? But as a role on the beach itself, that role will be played more by the guards. The lifeguards, okay. Right? But from time to time, when we have festivity going on or any big activities, fun activities on the beaches, Coast Guard will do a patrol. A patrol make sure that the guys that are going out with the small boats, with the fun, like the banana with the bouncing and so on, we make sure that everything is okay with that. Right, they have the number of persons on board, and the persons that are taking the ride have on the life jackets and so on. Right. So basically, just enforce the law, that safety, to ensure that safety regulations are followed, and the guys have the license to do so.
All right. How important it is for the Coast Guard in terms of safety at beach when it comes to beach users? And you specifically talk about folks who use the different floating devices on the beaches. How is it important for them to follow the safety procedures when using these devices at sea?
Without following the safety procedures and so on, we don't like tragedy, and too many times every year, too many times we have in drownings, all right, or this kind of mishap at sea whenever there is festivity, right? Now, you need to pay attention to your kids. A lot of times the children go to the beach, parents bring children on the beach and they sit on the sand and they just allow them to run around and just play in the water and not basically pay attention. They are accustomed. The thing we say.
You never know when a mishap can
exactly.
happen.
They are accustomed. Something can happen. One child might just go down. You ain't seen. You don't know which part of the water he is. Okay? So then, but you need to always have somebody looking out for the children. And always, you not necessarily have to line them up to do a head count, but always checking to see where they are and how much of them that came and how much of them in the water at all times.
All right. In terms of the safety procedure, is there any laws that governs the usage of beaches by regular beach users?
Well, what I could say, good morning again to the wonderful people of Grenada, Carrick, and Martinique. As regards to vessels, you're not supposed to be speeding by beach because we know the danger, right? And you could be charged for reckless steering of a vessel, right? This could be a very serious charge. You do not want vessels by where people are swimming in proximity to the beach, close proximity to the beach, and vessels are speeding around because you can kill someone and you can damage somebody. Grenada's beach is known to be one of the best beaches in the world. We have a reputation and we want to maintain that safe and wonderful reputation that we have. So we are admonishing all boat operators, save speed and do not be speeding or handling your vessel recklessly around the beach because it endangers life and it can put you in trouble and you can fall in the hands of the law.
When it comes to, as you went into the issue of vessels coming in there, we were still saving that conversation for the vessels. But as you jump in there, let me just ask a question or two pertaining to that. Regular beach people on the beach, a beach that is used for, regular individuals who come who just use it for bathing or for recreation purposes. Is there an approximate distance that someone with a boat should be in terms of the closest of the particular area or coastline?
Well, yachts are not supposed to anchor anywhere close to that beach because there is a mark, right? There's a distance they're supposed to keep away. In fact, Grenada's beach is part of an MPA, so you're not even allowed to even anchor there, right? Within that designated area, right? Because we're trying to protect our marine, right?
All right.
It's a Grenada's marine protected area. A lot of people might not be aware of it, but it extends from, let's say, Pandy area to that Grenada's beach area. All that area is a marine protected.
Okay.
So vessels are supposed to be on a mooring buoy. So once you're not on a mooring buoy, because remember we have reef there and we're trying to protect the environment. So there's a distance. Those vessels who do those, see with the banana, pulling those inflatable bananas and giving people a joyride. You should not be doing that close proximity to the beach. They're supposed to be a fair distance away because remember, you are operating a vessel at very high speed.
Yes.
And safety again. Also, water skis or them jet skis, shall I say, them jet skis is prohibited in the Port of St. George. Now, the Port of St. George is from Point Celine Point to Molyneux Point. It's totally prohibited to use jet skis in that area.
All right.
Under the Act. So we are trying to advise people to stay with the law because we don't want people to get on the other side of the law.
All right.
Because Coast Guard will be patrolling. And
What are some of the safety procedures that you would like to inform the nation with in terms of especially folks who use the beaches and uses the same banana police that they use that are told them around? What are some of the safety procedures that you would like to alert folks about? The practices that they should try to entertain?
Okay. We know that on a regular basis, let's say you have a holiday and we go out to sea. Well, not out to sea, but we go to the beach to have fun. Everything is taken into consideration most times except safety. What you need to be floating around as well. No, to keep you afloat more or less. Most times you see persons go to the beach with those floating sort of a bed, those floating bed, or the ball that you can blow into. Now, one thing you have to be careful, very careful with, and I need to say this: the ball that you blow, there we call the beach ball. Children tend to go after it once you get away from them and they start going out to sea. Now, what you have to know is that once you keep going after it, it keeps going out.
All right.
It keeps going out
because the tide would actually carry out
the tide and the wind, especially the wind. So please, once you get away from here and you start going out in the water, leave it alone. It ain't worth your life.
Right.
Just leave it alone. Now you have most recently you have things like what you call noodles, those floating Just long floating things that look like noodles. What they call them noodles.
I don't know those devices.
Right.
I think I clearly idea what you're
Instead
talking
of a
about.
floating bars. But by and large, they keep you afloat. Especially children. They wrap it around them and they're in the water and they use it to float. Now you bring your coolers, you bring your drinks, provisions, pot, everything like that. And then you bring something like a floating device, or the one you pump, a floating bed, or the air bed, little thing for them children to use. But now you leave them on that and they can actually float away. Some years ago, 2 kids was on one of that and they keep floating and none of the parents could swim. None of the parents could have swim. So somehow a boat had to end up going for them children, and lucky thing that they did not jump off of it.
Okay.
So we had to be mindful. Okay, even though you go to the beach with your floating devices, right? For the kids to have fun, please pay attention to them. Anything else for this, especially the beach ball leaf going, just leave it. Just leave it.
All right.
One time we was patrolling out there, and we found one about 2 miles outside. We were patrolling and we found a beach ball.
Just going.
Well,
luckily nobody went after it. Luckily nobody went after it. All right. Let's take our first break. We're coming right back here this morning. It's the Coast Guard Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force. We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us.
You mentioned the wing kite, and you have things like man, you must come back, you know. We have the low pole that.
It is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for a piece of cake. I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
You know, one day I woke up and, you know, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. You know, nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, once again to the point for today, Thursday, the 16th of February. The Royal Grenada Police Force, the Coast Guard Division with us this morning. We're talking beaches, vessels, the safety, the protocols you should follow as individuals who are going to be using the beaches in the first instance. And we're going to talk a bit about vessels and how the safety procedures that you should also follow. Officers, welcome back once again. I want us to spend some more time on beaches once again. individuals go to the beach, and as we allude to that in what we were speaking previously, there's a particular holiday and they decide you want to take the family, you and a bunch of friends want to take the family, you want to go on the beach, and then it becomes where you having a good time, you forget a lot of the safety procedures. Now, Grenada, we know the Grandlands Beach, there's Coast Guard, there's even Coast Guard now on the beach and Bathway and so forth. There are Coast Guards up there. Lifeguards. Let me get that. My bad. Lifeguards, not Coast Guard, but lifeguard. And how important it is for beach users to follow instructions, that are given out by the lifeguard at these beaches.
Well, first of all, I would say, before you even go to the beach, let me start from here, is that you plan your day. First of all, if the weather is foul and the seas are rough, I will not encourage anyone to go to the beach. So it starts from home. You say charity begins at home. So you start planning your day, and in that plan, there's a weather update, right? You can get your weather dates from GBN. I'm giving GBN some free adverts in here, but still. But you start your day with a plan. Once everything is fine and you plan your day, once you go with the kids, have a designated adult to watch or supervise the children at all times, right? When you get there and you're doing your stuff, you're cooking, avoid the alcohol as much as possible if you're going and swim. I'm not saying that you cannot go to the beach and bring your drinks. But what I'm saying that if you want to drink or if you're going to drink, avoid the swimming. Alcohol and swimming.
But you don't want to get intoxicated to the point and then want to go into the water.
Because it impairs your judgment.
Yeah.
And once your judgment impaired, when people drink, we think that they're Superman. I feel like Hulk, according to blacks. You want to avoid these things on them because you're going to cause heartache for your family and distress. You could lose your life. So we want to admonish people to avoid drinking and swimming. It's not a good mix.
Right.
And it should never be done. Right?
What are some of the other, of course, safety procedures that folks should follow? Because, not only the drinking, but, folks may be on the beach and, just carelessly playing around. You're not being able to, you're not a good swimmer. If you know that, should that also be a flag of you not wanting to go to the water? If or venturing out into areas of the beach or of distance in the beach where you're not capable of swimming. Because at certain points you're no longer able to touch your feet may not be able to touch the sand and so forth.
Yes.
What sort of encouragement would you like to tell beach users?
Well, I would say that if you can't swim or you're not a good swimmer, always go in the water with a competent swimmer. Right? For those who can swim parallel or along the beach. Do not go out. You don't need to prove yourself to be Michael Phelps. You're not swimming for Olympic recognition here. It's just some recreation. Swim parallel. So in the event that you get a cramp, you will not find yourself in trouble. Because you could be the world's greatest swimmer. You get a cramp. You're not going anywhere. My colleague here, he's a diver. He's an expert swimmer. And he can elaborate more on that. But if you're not a competent swimmer, you should stay by the shore. And if you do, go in the water. Make sure you have a competent swimmer. And to the competent swimmers, swim parallel or along the beach. But my colleague here, who's a very, very good swimmer and a diver,
I guess he could share elaborate more on some of the procedures that folks should follow, especially if you're not a great swimmer. You're not sure of the depth of the particular area on the beach that you're going to be at. What are some of the procedures that individuals should follow? Not knowing, especially, there are folks who go on the beach, especially youngsters, may not sure of the depth of the water where they're at. What are some of the procedures they should follow? Maybe there's a youngster who's listening this morning and saying, hey, I like to go on the beach. When I see the water, the little youngsters, they get excited and they just run into the water. You understand? Especially let's create a scenario where a youngster getting to the water. What are some of the things that parents should do in terms of just in case an emergency happen to occur there? What are some of the procedures they should follow?
Okay, just permit me a couple of seconds to divert for one, right? As we speak about safety on the beaches and around the festive time. That's what holidays time. Now, remember, we have a few drownings at the waterfalls as well. So just allow me to touch on that.
So beaches are not always. Not always.
Not the only areas that people go to have fun when it relates to water.
Okay.
We know there's a ban of swimming on the lakes. We don't do swimming in the lakes, so that is a no-no. But we oftentimes have drownings in the waterfalls.
Okay.
Now, and one of the waterfalls that we have most drowning at is Concord Waterfalls.
Right.
And the reason being that people go there to have fun, and you can slide down on the rocks and enter the water. Now, where the water is falling into that basin of water, you have a spiral, right? And people tend to jump in right where the water is falling into the basin. Now, when you enter the water right there, the water just keep bubbling like that, spinning. Any object that falls into there, you're spinning. You take a cup and you put an object in there and just pour water into another cup. You know, like how you cool it, see it spins.
Yes.
Right.
And it's kind of revolving.
Right. So now, imagine you're intoxicated and you fell into that water there, and just one spin, and you're disoriented. You don't know which way to swim to, or even if you're trying to, the current is going to keep spinning you. And over a period of time, that's how people drowned in waterfalls. They go in there and they jump in the Concord Waterfalls into where the water is falling. Right where the water is falling. That's a dangerous thing to do.
All right. So that practice should be cut out. Should
stop that. You can swim around it, because for Concord Waterfall, it falls into the basin.
Okay.
And you can jump in there, and that's what they do. And that's how they drown. You get disoriented, and you keep fighting. You get weak. That's it. And one of the other things is that don't walk to the waterfall and just jump into it. You walk out in the sun. Remember, your body is hot.
Yes.
Shock. A number of different things can cause shock. That is one of them. Rapid change in temperature of the body.
All right.
Yeah,
those practices should not.
No, you shouldn't do that. You should cease these practices.
Okay.
Just like for me, I grew up in Annandale, around Annandale Waterfalls, and I had to walk from maybe about a quarter mile to reach to the waterfall. And then when you reach, you're so happy you reach there, you just run and you heave in the basin. You don't know.
That's true.
And a few years ago, a guy did that, but he was asthmatic, and he got a shock. That's it.
Just because of the change in temperature.
Change in temperature. His asthma came on and he couldn't come up.
Okay.
And he drowned. Yeah, so we had to be mindful of that. Now back to the beach.
But the diversion was not back. Sometimes there are folks may not pay attention to that and feel it's okay to do these things. You understand? So that diversion there was not.
Okay. So you were asking about for the kids when they go to which area is deeper and which is more shallow. Now, if you're bringing children to the beach, I would recommend BBC. Because you can walk maybe 20 feet, 25 feet without actually being totally covered underwater because of the depth of water there. Now, on Grandlands Beach, some areas, from the time you step into the water, or where the shoreline breaks, straight down, you go from maybe 2 feet to 5. Right?
With that instant
right.
Crib.
So you don't want kids bathing in that area. So I think once you go to Grandlands Beach, not that you shouldn't go, but you could consult with the lifeguards there, and they would have able to help you with that.
With that particular area of the beach, which is more safe
for the children to be.
There may be days also when the beach is pretty rough. And
right.
you may not be encouraged to use the beach on
right.
that day, even though the weather condition may be favorable outdoors. You may from your home, you saw it's a sunny day, and you may think, hey, it's a good day for the beach. But when you get to the beach, the weather, the water may not.
Water may not be appropriate for you to. Now, the water surging. I'm a good swimmer. I went to the beach the other day in Grandlands, and the water was surging. And sometimes you tell yourself, okay, well, you're coming down there and watching the beach, the water calm and nice, and as soon as you reach to go enter the water, it just swells upon swells upon swells. Apart from that, even on a calm day, it have certain part of Grandlands Beach, more to the top side, where it have a current. People have to be mindful of that. If you're just in the water like that and you see you keep moving rapidly, then you need to come out from that area. You need to come out from that area because it's not safe, especially for children.
And that's mostly concern also for folks who are not great swimmers.
Right, who are not good swimmers, or who cannot swim at all. Some people just want to lie down and just have a soak. That's what we just say. But the sea water we know has healing properties.
My mom always used to say the beach has no branches, so she never. She always said the beach has no branches, so she will never go out. She will sit on the sand always. Sure. I mean, so you bear where you think it, you feel comfortable. That's maybe a way of encouragement.
Right.
You feel at a
where you feel comfortable, you know. Yeah, and person should endeavor to learn to float.
Yeah.
A number of person could swim. They could swim well, as I saw on the beach the other day, but they cannot float. And in the event that you get a cramp, what would be your best option? To float.
Yep.
Rest, warm up the muscle area that is cramped, but learn to float. Every time I go on the beach, I practice floating. And I get so good at it now, I just lie down in the water, just go into the water and I just lie down.
How much of a concern is it for the Coast Guard in terms of, beach users, especially when it comes to folks maybe see individuals in difficulty? Should they, if you know you're not a swimmer, should you venture into that water, alert someone to assist you, especially the lifeguard or something? It happens where you may see someone and may having a bit of a difficulty in the water. You yourself may not be the best swimmer. You understand? And you go on out there and try, and then it leads to both of you, and run into problems.
Sure. And that happens over and over. You see one person in trouble, another person, okay, well, I could swim, let me go and help him. And both of them drown.
Yeah, because you may not be trained in terms of how to deal with a situation like that.
Right.
And it's not always that easy to especially when someone is in that particular position now. They're trying to save themselves, and you trying to save them, and you may not have the proper knowledge and how of handling that situation,
right.
Like that. It leads to problems with both of you.
You say a drowning man grasps at straw.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say, to come in here. First of all, someone who is going to do that, right, should never panic. Anytime you panic, that's when chaos steps in, right? When you're going to save that person, you have to be reassuring that person. You have to be talking to them constantly. Give them the assurance now that you're here to save them.
Try to keep them calm.
Keep them calm. Because it's no use they panicking and then you start to panic.
Yeah.
And the person's going to climb up on top of you too. And they're going to push you down in the water and you're going to end up drowning, like was just said. So, person should speak to the person. But I would always advise that, especially going Grandlands Beach, try, if it is feasible, try and have your picnic or whatever close to the lifeguards. I think there's 2 stations on the beach. Could be subject to correction, but I think there's 2 stations on the beach.
Right.
Try to put yourself close because these are experts. These people are trained in rescuing lives. But if you're on a beach and there's no lifeguards present, and you want to take that chance and rescue someone, which is it's a noble thing to do. It's a noble thing to do because you're trying to save someone's life. I would encourage person to constantly talk to the person, reassure them that you're here. Let us remain calm. Right? So.
All right. Let's take a little break. We're coming back and to chat about. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, here on Classic and GBN TV. We're coming right back.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers this morning. We with the Coast Guard Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force this morning, and we're talking safety at sea. And we've been spending a lot of time on that because, it's an important subject line this morning that we're chatting because, lots of time individuals going out to the various beaches, and as of course the officer that alluded to, not only beaches, but there are other water bodies around the island, and individuals get themselves in which, if they don't have or use the proper safety practices, could lead to disasters happening there, and which we would not be happy about. One of the things that I want to touch on this morning is still in terms of beaches, practices for individuals or the know-hows, in terms of how could I bring this across to you in a proper way. Individuals go out to the beach, and we spent a while ago talking about the different practices that they should know, how the depth of the water, make sure the lifeguards are the way you or follow the guidelines of the lifeguards and so forth, where you go to different practices. What are some of the other topic lines that you would like to touch on? Maybe we didn't speak about that when we were talking earlier.
Just a continuation from trying to assist someone who is drowning. Now, before you take on that task, if you're a good swimmer, that's not the only thing that is required to save someone's life that is drowning, because a lot of good swimmers drown.
Yes.
Because of lack of knowledge, right? When you go to assist someone or to take someone out of the water that is drowning, if the person head is above water, or they keep rising up and down, bobbing up and down in the water and asking for help, then remember that person is already in a panic state, and they will grab at you, or once they grab at you, as Joseph said, they will try to climb onto you.
Yes.
No, there are things that you need to be able to do to avoid that. But if you're not trained, you would know. They will grab onto you, and then you both go down. Okay? And you just be you trying to fight them off, and they trying to stay above water to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, one other thing, the size of the individual in relation to your size, regardless to whether you might be the strongest swimmer or not, you might be the strongest swimmer, but can you actually save someone twice or three times your size? It don't happen that way.
It would not be as easy.
No,
that easy.
You won't able to do that.
All right.
So if you have a floating device, or like the life ring, or the little torpedo that the lifeguard has, you see that when the lifeguard goes out, they give that to the person that needs help.
I mean, I get where you're coming at there, because sometimes folks have a tendency to not thinking straight at the time. You see somebody in distress, and you just want to go out and assist, go out and offer assistance to them, and you're not thinking about there are certain protocols that you may need to follow or to get that done. And you may not walk with any. They say there are different things. You may not take a life jacket for your own self that will help you to keep afloat.
Right.
You may not take any other floating device that you can use to assist yourself and the other person.
You understand?
So those things are important.
So once once you have the floating device, you push it to that individual, so they can grab onto it instead of grabbing onto you. So they can hold on to the floating device, and then you can turn them around and start swimming, and or ask them to pedal as well. Okay. So you can get out of the water faster.
All right. Interesting. Certainly hope individuals who are listening, you could follow these procedures and help to save someone's life. And viewers and listeners, if you do have a question or two you'd like to ask the officers, feel free to do so, 435-2041. We also want to spend some time on vessels, and especially the folks that traverse the sea. What are some of the protocols that they should follow? Especially, let's keep this conversation simply around beaches for now. In terms of vessels that traverse the beaches, what are some of the safety practices that they should follow? And then we also go into conversation on folks who go out to sea, and what are some of the practices that they should follow in terms of helping to save their lives also.
Well, I'd like to say with regards to vessels and close proximity to beaches, safe speed always. And we look at things like clock speed. Now, clock speed is, let's say, about 3 knots. It's basically the vessel is just moseying along. You can hardly see it moving. It's a safe speed. Always have a lookout on board, so you can see persons in the water. Try your best to avoid operating your vessels close to a beach.
Okay.
But if it needs be that you need to go by the jetty, or you need to, let's say, for instance, you want to pick up somebody, always use that clock speed.
All right.
It's about 3 knots.
And I guess there's always that marking division that you should know in terms of your proximity from, especially from beaches where folks bathe a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand?
Especially beaches like Granades, BBC. These are popular beaches, which tends to have a lot of people, especially around the festivity or the festive times of the year. Right? Stress again on lookout. People must be having a lookout. Sometimes people venture in the water and the operator of the vessel might not see them, so it's always good to keep a good lookout. Right? These are the guidelines that we expect.
What about individuals who do not have the proper knowledge in terms of handling boats? Is it that's something that the coast are not encouraging individuals? Not because you think you're on water, you could just get in a boat and maneuver it in particular. That may not be something that's recommended.
No, it's not recommended at all. I would always encourage persons who decide to get into the boating field, they want to operate a boat, that they learn how to properly captain and navigate a vessel. Because it's your life and it's the life of others. One cannot be selfish when we operate in the seawater. We may think that we know about boats, but not everybody knows everything. We continue learning. Just like I said, the Coast Guard, we continue learning, we continue doing our training. Just so sea captains and boat operators should continue their learning. Get to understand your boat. Get to know the speed of your boat. Get to know what your boat can do. Get to know all aspects of your vessel, how to safely operate your vessel, because navigation is to take one vessel from one place safely. Safely is part of the definition in navigating a vessel. So everything we do in life is safety.
So true.
Everything. We cannot omit that. So we have to be mindful of these things, and then you're going to hear me talk about safety a lot as if safety is like the national anthem, but at the end of the day, it's our life.
It's what that comes between life and death.
Yes.
And
there's a thin line.
That you follow, and there's a thin line for it.
And there's a thin line between life and death. I could be talking today and then bang, tomorrow.
Lately there's been a lot of talk in the news about individuals who goes out, especially fishing and so forth, and may not, and these folks not, following the safety practices. Is that could be some of the reasons why we see these things are happening, where folks go out on fishing trips and then you hear they cannot be found? What are some of the main reasons for that?
Well, most definitely, like I said, like we spoke about before you go to the beach, is planning. And in your plan, there's a weather. You do a weather check. If the seas are surging, again 10-foot swells and big swells, I would not encourage anyone to go on a fishing expedition with the traditional pirogues that we have, those small vessels, those 16-foot, 18-foot, 21-feet vessels. It's a very dangerous thing. We know it's your livelihood. We know that's how you feed your family. But it's your livelihood. It's not your life. Remember, you need your life for your livelihood. Your livelihood sustains your life. but there are times that you will not be able to go through that livelihood because of the risk. You have to think about your family. Do you want to feed your family for years to come, or do you want to take the risk and go out and you cannot feed your family again? A dead man cannot feed his family.
I agree.
That can't happen, because once you're dead, like they say in Grenada, you're done. So I like to encourage them fishermen outside there before they go. Not only fishermen, but all seagoers. Before you go to sea, you do your weather check, do your pre-checks. Now the pre-checks is basically you're checking your engines, you're checking to make sure all the wires and everything is in place, spark plugs, everything is operating, right? You do all your checks, make sure you have enough fuel for your trip. There are cases that we get at the Grenada Coast Guard where a vessel breakdown. We figure it's an engine, the vessel run out of gas, right? They run out of fuel. Which should never happen once you plan your trip. I understand sometimes you may fish in this one spot and you may get chasing fish and you may, because you don't want to spend all this money and then come back empty-handed. But it's your life. It's your life. Comes back again. The equipment on your boat, make sure that your compass working. Get a GPS. You get a good GPS or global positioning system. This gives people or us a location of where you are, right? Let your family know where you are going. So you say, like, for instance, I may tell my family I'm going to by the island road and do some fishing, right? I let them know. When I reach, I call them. I let them know, look, I'm at the island road and these are my current coordinates, right? You can get a GPS, let's say for 50 euros. 50 euros is about $150. I know it's tough economic times, but there's not a price on life. These are things that will give you a fighting chance that we can find you. Currently, there is a search and rescue case on, right? With 2 fishermen from Grenville. 2 weeks now. There has been 2 flyovers conducted by the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Grenada Coast Guard has done its searches. Our vessel up in Carriacou has done its searches. We alerted Barbados Coast Guard. Well, obviously Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Coast Guard.
And still no,
still no trace. And traditionally, the search lasts 7 days.
And then beyond that.
Well, it's just hope. There's hope. I hope and pray that a passing vessel picked up these 2 fishermen and they're rescued. I really, really hope so. Because I do not want to hope for the worst. And my heart goes out to the family, to the mother and father and the immediate family of these 2 fishermen. We pray, God, that they come back.
Okay. Let's entertain some questions from the viewing and listening audience this morning. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good morning. Guess we lost that caller there. 435-2041. Those of you viewing and listening, if you do have a question or two that you'd like to ask the officers, I'm sure they will be able to answer. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yes, I'll start with the officers first. You're preparing for disaster, but you have some pirates that will be outside. Let us know how you could prepare for those pirates to save your life. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, caller, for your question. Anyone want to answer that?
They prepare for pirates, you said?
Yeah.
And what area? What area?
I'm not sure how you could prepare for it. I mean, what?
How would you prepare for pirates?
We should be prepared for anything that happens at sea, right?
But
piracy, fortunately in Grenada, is not a common thing. It's more down to the south, down to Trinidad. But preparing for a pirate, the best thing you can do, I know it's difficult to say, but remain calm. Wherever they ask you for your jewelry, it's just like somebody robbing a store. They always tell you, give them the cash, give them the jewelry, give them what they want. Your life is important. And just hope
and you offer them minimal resistance.
The hope that they don't kill you. What you can do, try and remember who robbed you, description of the vessel, and things like that, and then make a call immediately, if you can, after the pirates left. But your life is more important. Give in to all the demands. Do not try to fight them. Do not try to wrestle them. That's the best advice I can give you. Because basically, normally people don't have weapons on board, so you're not really able to defend yourself against them. Some of these pirates come with high port rifles. I'm talking about AK-47s, even M16s, or or 9 millimeters. They come armed to the teeth. And some of these pirates are well trained in using arms and ammunition. So I'm advising persons, try to remain calm. I know it's difficult. And give in to their demands. If they tell you they want all the jewelries, all your money, just hand it to them. And just hope that they go away. And then try and keep your mind what you saw, who you saw, the vessel, and contact the Coast Guard ASAP.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Very interesting program, and the advice is very, very up to date. Now, let me deal specifically with Grandlands Beach because I know of Grandlands Beach very well. People who are taking children on Grandlands Beach should be absolutely careful to keep their eyes on the children at all times. Grandlands Beach is very unstable. And there is a reason for Grandlands Beach being unstable, and I'll explain the reason. Now, you have big ships coming in from the south, going to the ports. And when they cross that channel over there, that's the channel going to the port, they send out a heavy water surge, which comes directly to the shore of Grandlands Beach. If you take a long stick and you push it down on the shoreline, that stick goes down as quicksand at the shoreline. The stick will go down quickly as, when you stand there, you feel your body going down on the shoreline. So my suggestion is, and that will concern the government and the port authority, have the ships who are coming in on the channel there to the port, have them open out at maybe a quarter mile, open out a bit more, and then swing into the port. That will help. But it is becoming very, very dangerous. Swing out and have a communication with the authorities at the port and the lifeguards on Grandlands Beach. So by the time, say about 10 minutes, when the ships are coming in, they have a contact with the guards so that they can be more alert. I've been looking at it over the years, and I use the beach very frequently, and that is a serious problem on Grandlands Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your input there.
Yeah. We appreciate the point of the caller. Like we said, Grandlands is a beautiful beach, but like Officer Nichols said, it has its depth. Anything to do with vessels moving, because basically these vessels have their shipping lanes already. Yeah. They're already with a marked way, what bearing or course they are going to stay. So this is something like the caller rightly said has to be discussed with the Grenada Port Authority. Right. So I hope that the Grenada Port Authority is listening, or maybe we can forward that suggestion to the Grenada or to the relevant authorities.
And if it's possible to make the changes.
They make the changes. But normally these vessels follow a shipping lane. Some vessels have it marked out in their charts already where they are going. So, but he said a quarter mile, so maybe that is something that can be discussed further.
Let's take a break. We're coming back and with more of your calls, and here on To The Point this morning. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
Help prevent cold and flu by washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. That's the time it takes to remove most germs. No soap and water? No worries when you've got alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
Sneezes spread diseases, so cover coughs and sneezes, please. Not with a rag or bandana. They trap germs. When you use the rag again, you put germs on your hands and everything else you touch. When you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth and nose with tissue. Throw the tissue in a bin and wash your hands afterwards. If you don't have a tissue, cough into your sleeve or elbow. Alcohol-based hand sanitizers are also effective in cleaning hands.
listeners and viewers, to the point this morning. We have the Coast Guard Division within the Royal Grenada Police Force with us this morning, and we're talking safety at sea. We spend a lot of time speaking about the beaches, some of the safety procedures that you should follow. We talk all about vessels, some of the safety procedures that you should follow. We're entertaining some of your calls for this final 8 minutes on the show this morning. I think we do have a caller. Let's see what this caller has to offer. Caller, Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. You're pretty okay. Go right ahead.
Yes. I have a concern about safety on the beach, especially for grandans, for example. And we may be in the water close to the shoreline. You're not, quote-unquote, going out, per se, far into the water. And those crafts come in, and with the propeller and so on, and sometimes they come at such a speed, and they seem to be joyriding, etc., or picking up people. And my concern is, I know we're not on land per se, but just as on land, on the road, at the sidewalk, you have pedestrian crossing and so on. Are there any rules of engagement for people who operate crafts to know when they approach so close to the coastline, at least, where there are people, or there could be people bathing or snorkeling, for example, that they should approach with caution? Are there any rules of engagement, just as you have sidewalks and you have pedestrian crossing? Are they the equivalent for the beach, especially in areas that people use?
Thank you, caller. Thank you there for your contribution this morning. Anyone want to respond to the caller?
Yes. Now, as Joseph would have mentioned earlier on, safe speed, right? There are rules that governs how seagoers or boat operators operate on the sea, just as how we have for the land. Now, and those rules speak about safe speed. Now, safe speed is determined by the traffic, the amount of your depth of water, right? The available water. Now, you have traffic would in that sense now would include swimmers, persons bathing on the beach. You understand? So if you come into shore, as you have those water taxi come from time to time to drop off passengers. Okay, you have the pleasure crafts. You have those, as you say, with the bananas that come. They come and take up persons to bring them out in the water. Now, what he's saying is true. From time to time, when they come to the shore to pick up persons, the speed is frightening. Mm-hmm. You understand? Because you have persons in the water. You understand? Persons in the water, and they come with such a speed. Now, remember, you're not on land where you mash your brakes. Mm-hmm. Even though you disengage the engine. No, the vessel will still the momentum. Mm-hmm. The momentum will still carry them, some distance. Okay, unless you engage to go astern. But at the same time, we always, if you want to hit soft, you take your time. All right. Right? You kill your speed. You have persons in the water, as you say, safety at all times. Persons in the water go very slow. Sometimes you may even have to go lower than cloud speed. You just touch forward and you're neutral. Okay. Because you have persons in the water and their safety is important. So that's the reason why we need to set aside some demarcations or as a designated area for persons for the water taxi. Well, you have the small jetty for the water taxi, but those persons that come in now to those fun seekers with the bouncing bananas that everybody sit upon and hold on to, those things like that, or the chair, the inflated chair and so on. Now, when they come in to pick up these persons, they should have a designated area to do that. And from time to time, they have that designated area. I've seen it. Okay. But then you have other persons that come around with small boats, like young guys, come around with some small vessels and just having fun. All over the place, just having fun. And they don't take into consideration, because from time to time we on patrol, we have to stop them. Yes, and we have to stop them. And you can only do something. You talk to them, and as long as you're not there again, your persons call and say, look, they're doing it again. You understand?
All right. Constable Nicholas, as you've, I'm not sure if there's any closing statement you'd like to make. We're about to wrap up this morning. Any final bit of encouragement in just the do's and don'ts that folks should just do, especially beaches, you would like to, before we take a wrap this morning?
Okay, one additional thing I would like to encourage persons to learn a little CPR. Learn some first aid, CPR especially, that you can assist. If you're on the beach and something happens, don't try to bail a crowd around that person that needs help. Okay, but at least learn some CPR, learn to float, send your children to swimming classes and these things like that. So you yourself can learn to swim or learn to float. Some persons are aquaphobic. As soon as they touch water, they get free. Or water touch your face, they get free. But learn to swim. If you cannot, then stay as close to the shore as possible. You can even sit down and allow the water to beat you. But remember, safety at all times. If you go into Granan's Beach, you have the lifeguards there. Consult them. Ask them a question. As to where is safer for the children to be. They would know where the shallow parts are. Okay. And throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, I encourage you guys, be safe at all times.
All right. Your Corporal Joseph, any final closing from you as well?
Yes, I'd like to encourage all boat operators to be safe out there. Also like to make sure that they have all the necessary equipment to keep them safe. Make sure that you have the right size life jackets on board your vessel. So if you're going with 5 persons, make sure you have 5 life jackets or life jacket for every person and it fits. If you're going with children, make sure you have that. Make sure you have enough food that could last you for, let's say, 3 to 5 days. Food and water stored in plastic containers. Make sure you have your equipment. Important to get a GPS and radios as well. Radios give you a wider range than the cell phones because let's say about from 12 to 15 miles of Grenada,
there's no connection.
Connection is very poor. So a radio will be better. Some of the things are expensive, but then again, there's not a price to your life. Make sure that you have a competent seamate or shipmate with you when you're going out to sea. And for those who decide they want to head up to Carriacou for the festivities up there, do not overcrowd your vessel. Know the capacity of your vessel and make sure you have life jackets. Let family members know you are going up there, the designated time you're leaving, your time of arrival, and your time of departure, or whatever. Right? So always be safe. Make sure avoid alcohol and stirring vessels. And I want to close with this closing point. There are many good reasons for safety, and one just entered my head. If a person cannot be safe when they're living, there's no way you can be safe when you're dead.
So true. Right. All right, officers, I want to thank you once again for being here this morning and sharing this information. Certainly hope the viewer, listening audience will follow the lots of the safety procedure that you mentioned this morning, and simply that they put it into practice. Thanks once again. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for To The Point for today. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of To The Point. We say goodbye for today. Have yourself a good one, folks. Goodbye.